And we are live.
We are live, are we? Yes. Okay, right.
Yay.
So, hello everyone. It is 2 days after the final of Eurovision 2021, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm just a bit like, what do I do with my life now?
Like,
But yes, in case you didn't know, my name is Rory and I'm just having a really good time. I'm glad that we're able to have this kind of like debrief stream, and yeah, I'm just happy for it all to be recapped. So yeah, joining me.
Jazzy, and we're going to get it all out there. Like, there's a lot to talk about. And I think it's time that we just gave our opinions.
Yes, because we can do that now.
Yeah, there really is a lot. It sure has been an intense couple of days. It's been an intense few weeks. And I think actually having that couple of days between the final and now to sort of decompress and to talk things over and, well, think about things has been quite beneficial. So it's nice to now be able to talk through it now that we've had the chance to process things a little bit.
Definitely. I think, it's one of the ones that like you just feel like the day after you have to like just see everything that has happened in terms of like who came where, what the semifinal split results were like, how everything like that was playing out. And I think it's just going to be interesting to see how it kind of like what you guys make of everything, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like. So yeah, we might as well kind of get things started. So just before we jump into sort of results or anything like that, what did you make overall of like the final?
It was really well organized. And do you know what I did love? Especially during the televoting, like the camaraderie, like how like all the acts just seem to like be all in it together and very supportive of each other. Like like in past years, like we see it a little bit, but this year we saw it a lot. Like we saw shots of them in the green room being so supportive, and I love that. I'm sure we'll get on to the 4-0s soon, but I just felt that like the crowd, that was so heartwarming. Like just to see the crowd, just to get behind like Blast, Yendrik, Yengu, and James, because they deserved and they needed it. Like
Yeah,
wow. Absolutely. I feel like for me watching the final was almost this sort of out of body experience after all of this time that's spent building up to it, because we've been waiting 2 years for this now. And we've had all of this anticipation build up, and the last couple of weeks as we've been covering it has just been utterly ridiculous. And it's been this massive whirlwind. And so for the final, I basically made the decision to basically switch off the internet, to just sit and enjoy it. And it was like having this sort of out of body experience, because throughout this season, I have been critical of some of the songs and some of the artists. And like I've been worried about things and I've been apathetic towards some of the songs. And for me, it just felt like all of that melted away. It felt like I was just having the absolute best night, and it was amazing. And honestly, I think they did a fantastic job with the show, and just congratulations to everybody who was involved in that, whether you were performing or as a crew member or a delegation member, whether you were from the EBU, whether you were from Ahoy, whether you were from the Dutch broadcasters. You did such an incredible job, and I don't know if any one person is going to be watching this who that might apply to, but honestly, I'm just so in awe of what you were able to do, and thank you for giving us such an amazing night.
Like in a time where we are still very much in a pandemic, they put on a show which was almost like normal to what we would normally expect. And That has to be commended. Like, well done to the Dutch team, because I don't know how some broadcasters would have handled it, but they handled it amazingly.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think it's so like commendable to the whole sort of like everyone involved really, because this was as close to a normal Eurovision as we were going to get, and the fact that you know we had very few hiccups in the entire sort of show and the way that it was going to be held and organized and everything like that. I'm so thankful that we even just got to have this, you know, because this was 2 years in the making, and I don't know about you guys, but I genuinely don't know whether or not I would have been able to make it without another one. So
I just think it'd have just been like, oh, another year without Eurovision. Couldn't think of anything worse.
yeah, but you know what? We had it, and I'm so thankful for it. And not to
Yeah.
mention as well, I think just before we sort of get into the actual sort of songs and stuff, I think we need to give a quick little shout out to the hosts, Chantal, Jan, Etcilia, and Nikki. I think they gave an amazing, like, they did so well. They were so professional. The way that they kept the suspense going, the way that they kind of kept us humored every now and again, they kept the personality. I I do think this was like the best set of hosts that we'd seen for quite a long time. And I'm so thankful as well that, we got to have some trans representation in there as well. And, you know, I think this is definitely an overall show that the Netherlands should be proud of.
Absolutely. We just have a comment, so I'm just going to say from Radoslav Sanevnev. Sorry if I've probably completely butchered your surname. I'm so
Oh.
sorry. He says, "Hey there, we've definitely started the post Eurovision depression process already." Yeah.
Yeah. We're feeling that.
100%. I'm feeling that. Honestly, what are we going to do with ourselves now that like it's all completely over? I just don't know.
We've got more
Junior
podcasts to make.
Eurovision.
That is very true. We do have a whole podcast that you can still listen to. I mean, yes, we may have neglected it just a little bit over the course of Eurovision, but I think, it's understandable. So, but yeah, so we might as well just sort of jump right into this. So, I think what we should probably do is that we will go from the bottom up to the top. Okay. So we'll start off with the country that came in last place with 0 points from the televote and 0 points from the juries, the United Kingdom. I don't know about you guys, but I like the jury final performance was by far and away the best performance that James had given in the whole rehearsal thing. So I was really quite surprised that that got 0 points. And when it got 0 points in the televote, I was shocked, absolutely shell shocked. But you know what? Fair play to James for taking it on the chin. He's faced a lot of backlash now in the UK from, Piers Morgan and much of the ITV, crowd. And it's not his fault, and it's no one's fault, really. It's just the fact that the UK is trying too much to pander to this level, like of like specific Eurofan, or not even Eurofan, but like it wasn't broad enough to appeal to Eurofans, but it also wasn't niche enough to appeal to locals or vice versa. So it just still felt a little bit generic, but I do think it deserves some points.
Like, I feel like what the UK tries to do is like since 2015 we tried to send something competent, because in 2015 it was an embarrassment, and that's not what we need again. So I feel like since 2015 we've tried to be competent, and in recent years competent is not going to get you a good result. You're just going to get forgotten in the final, and that's really sad, but it's the truth. And I appreciate that the BBC definitely put more effort in this year, and James was amazing, but it still felt like it was competent rather than great, and that was the issue. But James did amazing. Like, it's really hard, like, because you don't really want to like knock him when he's already down. So I'm not going to say anymore.
It was a decent song in a great year. That's the problem. That's all I can say about it. And I'm sort of stealing this point that I saw someone make on Twitter, and I'm really sorry, but I can't remember who made it, but I thought it was a really good point. The BBC was saying that they were aiming for the left-hand side of the scoreboard, so they were aiming for sort of 12th, 13th at the lowest point. If you're aiming for 12th, 13th, if every juror and every televote is ranking you 12th and 13th, that's no points. Because you only get points if you're in the top 10.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible way of the system working, but it's just the wrong sort of aim, I think. I think they possibly tried to go too broad. And I'm sure we will get on to discussing this later, but the fact that basically every song that was in the top 10 really was really unique in terms of its genre and its styling and its vocals and everything. And I just think the UK sent something that was too safe. And safe isn't going to get you points, especially in a year like this. And again, absolutely no shitting on James, because James has been such an incredible ambassador for the UK music scene. And I really appreciate that the BBC have taken the tactic of actually giving the artist direction over what song they want to send and having involvement in that process. And it just didn't work out this year. I think there are definitely lessons that the BBC need to learn, but I also think they have genuinely tried. It just wasn't the right year for it.
And it's a shame as well, because like they were aiming, like how you said, they were aiming for about 12th-ish or so. God, I can't speak today. But when you look at the split in the detailed jury and televote points, the UK barely got above 21st place. Like, it was like in either the jury or the televote, and it really, like how you said, it was a fantastic, like, it was a good song. It was just in such a fantastic year, and I think it would have just been left by the wayside. And I just know myself that, you know, we're in the UK here. The reputation of the contest is literally in the ground. Like, there's like, and this is just going to like
it's rock bottom.
It literally is, though. It literally is. Except with the love-hate relationship that song has, everyone just despises it now at this point. But I'm just hoping that come next year they might actually switch things up. But
like, it can't get any worse. So you wouldn't think so.
But
yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on to the next one, which ended up in 25th position, and that was Germany, Jendrik, I Don't Feel Hate. Now, I mean, I'm kind of not surprised that this came in bottom 5, just because we kind of had expected it to tank a little bit. But yeah, 3 points, it's better than nothing, I guess. So, but yeah, Jendrik gave a really solid performance. But I don't know about you guys, but I was hosting like not necessarily a big party, but I had a couple of people around to watch the final, one of whom was German. And she saw the Jendrik, and she immediately was just like, I know you're supposed to root for your own country, but my God, do I hate this.
Like,
so I don't know about that, but yeah, overall, you know what? It did what it needed to do, and it got a relatively expected position.
Yeah. it wasn't going to do any better than what it did. I thought it may have done a little bit better in the tally vote than nothing, but again, such a strong field of songs. I can understand why it got nothing. I thought, this may appeal to some younger voters, but no. And then I do think going before Blind Channel really hurt him, because obviously they did really well with the televote.
Yeah.
Like, so far, like, it hurt Victoria, who went after them as well. So
yeah, I'm not surprised. Oh, sorry, Jazzy. Please.
I was going to say, I think we'll get onto that later.
Yeah. This song was always going to be divisive, and well, I don't necessarily want to say that the UK should sort of learn something from this. Like, I do feel like sending something that's very safe and that people will go, that was pleasant, versus something where people will either go, I really love this, I really enjoy it, or something where people go, I really hate this, this is so annoying, can't stand this. At least it made some impact. And yes, I don't necessarily think like 25th place is the place to be aiming for the UK. And also, I have no idea why I'm comparing the UK to Germany here anyway. But I think I applaud Germany for taking a risk and sending something that was divisive, that was different, that did stand out amongst the competition this year. Jendrik, again, has been a fantastic ambassador for the contest. He has been such a delight throughout this season. And he did a great job. Like, this song was never going to be liked by everybody. And speaking as somebody who really does have quite a soft spot for it, but it wasn't in my top 20. I think it was sort of around my 25th place. I'm very happy with what they did with it. All of the crew, as he calls them in their press conference, did an incredible job. And I'm very happy with this. Like, I wouldn't have minded it seeing it a few places higher, but I'm not complaining.
Yeah. I think it's just one of those ones, like, I liked it when it was on, and I think, Jendrik himself was just like a nice guy, and I think that partly made me warm to him just a little bit. But I do think, we have become so accustomed to all of these performances and all of these songs since at least December. And I think, given the fact that, we are so used to it, we sort of develop attachments to it. But we need to remember, people who don't watch it to the same level that we do are only going to see it once, and they're going to make their minds based on that performance. And they don't know if he's a lovely guy or not. They don't know if he's a terrible guy or not. It's just what they see. And I think, he gave a really good performance, but I do just potentially think it was enough to kill it a little bit. But I don't know. We'll move on to the next one anyway, and that was Spain. Now, you know what? The song itself was fine. The song was pleasant, and the staging itself was, I still think, one of the best stagings that we had from Spain in a very, very long time. But I do think it was just a little bit too generic to sort of work in the contest. Blas's voice was phenomenal. He gave a flawless performance, and I'm really thankful that, he was able to do it in a really controlled way. He knew what he was doing. Again, I think it just kind of fell by the wayside in the same way that the UK did. Like, it was a good song, but in such a big year, it was just not going to do as well as people had hoped.
Yeah, very much the same thoughts. Blas sounded incredible. What he did with that song and the sort of Eurovision edit he made of it, with the sort of the a cappella at the beginning, I thought was beautiful. He absolutely sold the song. And yeah, it's very much what Rory said. It's a good song in a great year. It's the sort of song that is lovely to listen to. but I don't think it's in the best 10 of these performances for the vast majority of people.
Oh, we're talking about Blast. Okay. I feel like my opinion, I've been very honest, open about the opinion that I would have thought the juries would have respected this more than they did. The staging was stunning. His vocal was pretty good. I thought juries would have probably given it more, but not to be. But I understand it was probably, there was a lot of jury friendly songs in the final, so yeah.
True. And I think, you know, there's at least one song that I can think of that would have hoovered up a lot of different sort of other songs points. That would have been maybe more suited, that would go to like countries like Spain, like the UK. But I think because we had, like how Jesse said, we had so many jury friendly songs, there were more spread, and I guess that meant that it wasn't going to impact as much then, which meant that some countries ended up sort of losing out a bit.
Like, I think when we had like 10 songs or something, when Blasted Song came out, I thought jury's going to eat this up. But then as we got more songs from internals and stuff, obviously just didn't end up being the case.
Yeah. I'm hoping though that
And
Spain...
I think coming straight...
Sorry, go on.
I think coming straight after Iceland hurt it as well.
Yeah.
Because everyone was still sort of coming down from 10 years.
As well as the story as well of like, you know, Daddy not being in the actual arena as well. And I think that also had an impact, but we'll get to Iceland later. Yeah,
and I don't know what it was. Sorry, Rory, go for it.
No, go on.
I don't know what it was like for viewers in other countries, but certainly watching in the UK with BBC commentary, we really didn't get a lot of what the song was actually about.
I felt... Oh, sorry, just go.
Like, yeah, Graham Norton didn't really go into the whole, this is a song that is dedicated to his grandmother who died during the COVID pandemic and things like that. And I do think that would have changed people's opinions on the song if they are simply casual viewers and they're just watching this for the first time and hearing the song for the first time. And I do think that commentators do have a part to play in guiding people through what these songs are and what they're about and the stories behind them. And I think Spain got done dirty with that, certainly in the UK.
And, you know, just a quick point about the commentator things, you know, Graham Norton is pretty much the most influential commentator, and yet he was still happily throwing his own personal opinions about left, right, and center. And I do think a lot of that was partially how the UK ended up voting in its own televote. So I'm a bit... I personally, I think it would be a great idea if the commentators didn't give their opinions, but, you know, guess we can't have everything. But no. No, what I was going to say is just that I do hope that Spain aren't disheartened by this, because, you know, the song was good. Blast's phenomenal vocal. It was just adequate, I think is the right way of saying it. But yeah, I do hope that they don't get disenfranchised and then, you know, just stop caring about it, because Spain, honestly, Spanish Euro fans are a completely different level. Okay, I think we know that, but oof. Yeah, so we'll move on to the next one to get in, and that was the Netherlands, John Guma Croy, Birth of a New Age. This was my biggest upset. I am so sad that this did not do well. I think people completely missed the mark on this. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the actual televote points and the jury points maybe put him maybe like 11th or 12th. But, you know, like how we said with the UK, 11th and 12th won't get you points. But yeah, it was phenomenally like impactful. Like I'm not one who cries very often, but during the rehearsals, like it got me every time. And the fact that people in the hall were singing like Yunoman Brokomi as well, I really, it felt like a big moment on stage, and I felt so so sad for Jungkook that, you know, he wasn't respected for that.
Yeah, this baffles me. I just thought this would have done so much better. It was such, I think the way I described it as powerful, uplifting, and joyful, and I'm just shocked this didn't do better. It definitely didn't deserve 0 points in the tally vote. I don't have an explanation for this one. I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm gutted. I think this deserved so much better. I think Jungkook's performances were note perfect. Every single rehearsal, every single performance we saw from him, the whole show, this whole staging was so powerful, and it's unique, it's authentic, it's genuine, it's like Jazzy said, it's powerful, it's joyful, and I don't want to throw other songs under the bus in the name of uplifting songs that I do like, but I don't think there was anything that matched this in so many ways throughout this year. And it wasn't even my winner. It was in my top 10, but this was so special. And I am absolutely gutted for Jungkook and the whole team, because I think this was also, again, this was a huge risk. This was a huge risk musically, and it was a huge risk politically as well, because there was so much sort of like clear racial politics in this song. And that's why, one of the reasons why I like it so much. And there have been discussions amongst the online communities over the last few days, which have attempted to parse these dynamics, not just with Jungkook, but with other artists who are people of color as well. And I'm probably not the person to go into these because, as I have said many times before, I am a white woman and I do not understand the lived experience of being a person of color and being an artist of color and being on a stage so huge, speaking the truth about your own experiences. And actually, just saying that, I want to give a huge shout out this season to the artists who have used their platforms to really speak out about these things. Tusa, Manesia, Vincent Bueno, the interview that we did with him, he was very outspoken about the lack of opportunities he has as a Filipino European. And thank you for doing that with so much shit that has been thrown back in your faces about that. This is a discussion that I think needs to be had, but I'm not the person to guide it or lead it.
Yeah, I think, you know, there's definitely a platform for that conversation to be had. And I do think there is a lot more at play around the way that people of color were treated in the televote, but that's a discussion for another day. We'll just park it there. But yeah, I do think it's something that does warrant talking about. We'll move on quickly to the next one because we've been going very long on them. So the next one that came next was kind of another big shock. San Marino, Adrenalina, Sen Hit featuring Flo Rida with only 50 points. We thought this was going to be in the top 10. And what happened?
It only just qualified with the tally vote in the semi. Like, it came 9th in the semi. And that's just like flabbergasted me. Like, there's countries in that semi that did not qualify that did better than Senate in the tally vote. We will get onto that later when we talk about Moldova. But Wow. So undeserved. She deserves so much better. Like, not only did she manage to get Flo Rida, but Senate herself. She sold that song. She was so full of energy. This is the best song that San Marino have ever sent. Like, there's no arguments about it.
Yeah.
And she hasn't got the result to back that up. Because she did worse than Serhat, who had a quite frankly not very good song in 2019, but we won't get into that.
When you put it into context as well, that Senhit literally spent or saved €2 million for this whole participation, and to only have that come out with 22nd place, I think that's a travesty.
Yeah, I'm gutted for her. She deserved better. She's put so much effort in this whole season. She's been an absolute delight, and she came with a song that was sort of, it was fun, but it was fun in an interesting sort of way, in a way that felt very Senhit, and I liked that. And yeah, I am shocked this was not a left-hand side of the scoreboard song. I think it deserved better.
I'm really quite surprised because, you know, she gave a really good vocal performance. Flo
Yeah.
Rida himself sounded great. The pyro was really good. Potentially the one thing that I do think it could be hurt by was the fact that it was performing last. Sometimes performing last can be a bit of a double-edged sword depending on where you are. And
both of the songs that performed after the winner this year kind of flopped compared to what they were expected to do, which is an interesting observation. There might also be something else to observe about those two acts, but we have somewhat touched on that already.
Yeah, I do think it's one that, again, warrants further talking about, but we'll get onto that later. So yeah. But I do think, though, you know, San Marino, again, should be really proud. And the fact that San Marino has a qualification streak, I think, is something that we just need to really admire. And I'm so thankful to Senhit, to all of the team at San Marino just for doing that. And they're going back to a national final next year already. I love that. So I'm so ready to watch Una Voce per San Marino. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fantastic. We'll move on to the next one, and the next person that came 21st in the final was Albania, Angela Peristeri with Karma. Not surprised with this one, to be honest. I was expecting that it was going to do a similar result to Theotokos, but you know, again, it's a very admirable and respectable result, especially for a song that's in Albanian, because, you know, this is the third time in a row now that Albania has sent a song in Albanian that actually has qualified for the final and gotten a decent score as well from televoters. I'm really quite thankful for it. And Angela, lovely woman as well. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing if they will bring back Festivali Congress again, and we're going to go through the whole rigmarole again.
Of course they are.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd be more surprised if they didn't.
Yeah. It's one of those songs that I think... Sorry, Jazzy, go for it.
Oh, I wasn't going to say anything. I was just shit talking Rory. That was my point.
Karma is one of those songs that I think deserved better, but again, it was just in such a strong year, and I think 21st place out of this field of songs is nothing to be scoffed at. Angela gave a fantastic performance. I'm so glad that this song was as popular as it was, because it's a native language sort of kind of a ballad, but with a little bit more sort of oomph behind it. And I know that certainly that is not the sort of song voters in the UK would tend to go for. So I am absolutely delighted this made the final. I'm delighted that she got some points, and she absolutely deserved it. It would have been nice to see her higher. I wouldn't want any other songs to also go lower, if that makes any sense.
That makes absolute sense.
Like, basically, if I could have 15 songs in the top 5, I would.
If only.
I mean, there's songs that weren't in the final that I'd have had in my top 5. So
yeah.
Like,
yeah. Do you have any on Albania, Jazzy?
I'm sad she wasn't a televote qualifier in the semi, because I think she deserved to be. Like, that performance was amazing. Like, I wish the televoters gave her a little bit more credit, and actually the jury as well, because she is a phenomenal vocalist. Like, this is a song I would have thought would have got a little bit more credit, but again, it is a very strong field of songs. So,
definitely, and you know, Albania is just trying to do its own thing now, and they've learned that, you know, the kind of manufactured pop version that they were going through from, you know, 2014, 2016, 2017, it just doesn't really work. So I'm glad now that they're kind of realizing, okay, maybe we need to inject a little bit of personality into this.
I mean, they have a 3-year qualification streak, so they're doing something right.
Yeah. And I'm glad that they're learning from what went wrong before. They're just trying and trying again. So we'll move on to the next one.
I love how they've just stuck to their guns.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Once they've stuck to their guns, I
and
think
they have such a distinctive style.
Sorry, Jazzy, Rosie, I think there's a little bit of a time delay, but I'm not sure.
No, we're good. I'm done.
Okay, that's it. But yeah, we'll move on quickly to the next song, and the one that finished in 20th place was Azerbaijan, Effendi Matahari. Kind of shocked that this was lower than it actually, like, I was expecting this to be higher, but maybe, you know, Europe just wasn't feeling that kind of manufactured pop thing again. But yeah, it was a all right performance from Azerbaijan. It wasn't enough to kind of capture many people. It wasn't really that much of a fuss for me, to be honest. So yeah, just glad that they've managed to do that, and they'll go on to another song next year, hopefully with someone who's not completely like Effendi. But
I mean, going after France was always going to be like, she was after Ukraine and France. I just think she got forgotten. Like, she wasn't going to be remembered, and that's that. I like the song, but I don't really have any opinions on her result, because I totally understand this one.
Yeah. In my sort of personal, like, my personal rankings of the entire year, this was my lowest ranked song in the final. So yeah, Effendi gave a great performance. It just wasn't enough in a year like this. And I think there were sort of female-fronted pop songs that were stronger this year. I think that was it.
Yeah, when you look at, like, you know, again, France, Ukraine, all of these big hitting songs, and then all of a sudden there's just Matahari.
Yeah. Also Lithuania before then as well.
True, yeah.
And
it was
Bulgaria and Finland. Before then. Finland. You had this whole run of really authentic, very genuine artists, and then you have Matahari, which has that sort of Azeri flair to it, but it's still very manufactured. It's a song by Swedish pop writers. It's on a different level to the songs that were previous.
Yeah,
definitely, yeah. Right, next one. Finishing in 19th place was Belgium, Hooverphonic, The Wrong Place. I mean, I'm a little bit sad, I guess, because it was my number 2, but I'm so thankful that it even made it into the final anyway, because I think it barely managed to get 9th place in the semi-final. Earlier in the stream, I said that there was one song that I think hoovered up a lot of points from other songs, potentially like, you know, Spain and the Netherlands at this. This was the song that I think took a lot of those jury points away, because it was very much pandering to the juries, and you saw that when they only got 3 points from the televote. I voted for it. I'm just putting that out there. Yeah, I think Gaika kind of sounded a little bit more nasally in the final performance, which is a bit strange because she was giving it fine during rehearsals, but then all of a sudden she decided to okay, yes, I want to sound like Britney Spears now. But I'm happy that it made it through. But I was expecting that it wasn't going to disrupt too much.
I feel like with this one, it was on so early in such a strong final, it just wasn't remembered. And that's awful. But that's the way of Eurovision sometimes.
Yeah, I think the running order sort of hurt any chances it had. I like Rory, I'm delighted this made the final. I think it was something completely unique for this year. I think they gave fantastic performances again every single damn time we watched them perform. And because we were covering rehearsals and everything, we watched them a lot. We have watched these performances so many times. So yeah, I am so happy that they made it to the final and that they got a little bit of appreciation from the televote and plenty of appreciation from the juries. Would I have liked to see them higher? Yes, I would. Am I upset with where they've come? Not spectacularly upset. And also, just on a very small note, my dad, who is a complete hater of everything Eurovision, but was sat down watching it with me and my mum and my partner, who all do quite enjoy it, actually really liked this song. So I thought that was neat that they even won him over.
It was a dad song. It was a dad song.
Excuse me.
Like Rory a dad.
I think I'd rather die before I had kids, but I mean, okay, go off.
I mean, Rory could be a daddy.
Is this TES After Dark?
I mean, it's pretty dark outside right now, so I guess it is.
I mean, it's pitch black outside. It's 10 o'clock at night.
To be fair, yes, this is where we just need to insert the porno music and it'll be fine. Oh,
You're
God.
in the wrong place. You're in the wrong place.
I am in the wrong place, it looks like. Anyway, we'll move on to the
18th place.
Yes, 18th place, and it was TIX falling.
I was surprised by this.
Yeah, go on.
If this is specifically to UK fans, if you're going to buy a song on iTunes, why are you not voting for it? He got 2 points off our televote, but he was number 3 on iTunes at one point. I don't understand the concept.
It's because no one uses iTunes anymore.
Yeah.
I mean,
over 30, yes.
So it's just locals baffle me, but I guess in one way, that money didn't go in the UBU's pocket; it's gone in TIX's pocket. So
very true.
Won?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy that I'm happy where it went. I didn't want it to do very well, but it got a respectable result, and I'm just glad that Norway can kind of say they got to the final with this, because we all had kind of thought maybe it was going to qualify, maybe it wasn't, and yeah, I guess they were the kind of surprise. But yeah, it definitely did not do as well as we had thought it was.
Yeah, I think there was the date, the few days before the final, we were like, oh dear, this is going to come top 10. And
yeah,
I think luckily it didn't, because I think he would have caught a lot of hate if he had.
Yeah, I feel like this is probably about the sort of lower end of where I might have expected this to come. From a personal note, TIX gave a great performance. I do think there were 17 songs better than it in the final. Admittedly, not all of them were ones that came above it. but I do think that TES did a great job. And also the sort of comments I've seen from people talking about the sort of visibility of his Tourette syndrome, and particularly the little section of the song where he took off his glasses so that you could see his tics very visibly, has been very powerful for a lot of people, people who do have Tourette syndrome and other visible disabilities. And that's fantastic. And so well done, TES, on showing that on such a huge stage. And again, fantastic vocal performance. It's kitsch. It's a bit over the top, and I've criticized him a lot for that this season, but honestly in the final I just sat back and I enjoyed it. And yeah, I'm happy with it coming in 18th place. I think that I wouldn't have been too upset seeing it a little higher, but I'm not upset with where it's come.
Yeah, and you know what? For a Scandinavian country, it's still like a decent result. It's not in the bottom 5, but it was I think it was the lowest of the Scandinavians this year. So
aside from Denmark,
well, in the final, obviously.
Yeah,
we'll get to them.
We'll get to them when we talk about Moldova.
Yeah. So yes, 17th place, Israel, Set Me Free, Eden and Elena. Again, not an overly surprising result for them. I think, you know, it was about as good as we were going to get. I don't think this was going to be a challenger for the top 10 regardless. She just looked like she was there just having a good time on stage, to be honest. And you know what? Fair play to her, because, you know, she was in a very tough situation. Not to get too political, but she was in a tough situation, and she just kind of was like, nah, I'm not getting involved. I'm get that fire exit door, I'm off. If you know what that reference is, I'll buy you a drink in the pub.
You better buy me a drink in the pub then.
Bar.
Yeah, 100%. But no, I'm just glad that they did a solid performance. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I'm glad they got a result that they were happy with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, again, do I think there were 16 songs better than this? Yes, I do. Am I upset with where she came? No, I'm not. Did she give a great show? Yes, she did.
Yeah, I think she did quite well with the jury, which I kind of expected, because that whistle note is powerful. Like, Televote, she got 20 points, was it? Which was probably more than I expected her to get, given the current situation. So she did really well.
And you know what? You know, at least she's had a chance now that she can say, like, okay, I managed to break history. Like, she'll be known in the record books for a really long time. So that's good to know. Yes, so 16th place, Cyprus, El Diablo. Kind of a little bit shocked that this was kind of low. I was expecting it maybe like a couple of places higher. Elena, she seemed like she was having a good time on stage, and I think it was an interesting one that she went first. I wouldn't necessarily have put it first, but it also at the same time it was also the perfect song to open. So yeah, I'm glad that it was like a mid-table result, but I do think the Fuego effect is starting to wear off now, and I do think that Cyprus are going to be in danger of potentially not qualifying again if they keep doing the same thing over and over again, because all they're doing at the moment is just repeating what worked for them in 2018, and they need to like branch out, I think. But that's just me.
Like, I really like El Diablo. It's my 4th place, but I do tend to agree that the Fuego effect is definitely wearing off, and yeah, they need to try something new, because what they're trying now is working, but not in the way I think they'd hoped it would be. Like, prior to rehearsals, this was like 5th in the odds, and it came 16th. Like, that's not good.
Yeah, again, nothing to fault about the performances that Elena gave at all. I have said previously on podcasts and things that I find this song generally a little overrated. I'm still, however, very shocked that this was not a top 10. I thought it would be. I think possibly going first might have hurt it a little bit. Again, like I've said, nothing to fault about anything Elena did. She gave such incredible performances, and the way that she sort of sung and danced and did everything the whole way through the competition was fantastic. It would be nice to see Cyprus send something else next year. I don't tend to connect very well with songs that are sort of somewhat manufactured pop girly bangers, and sometimes they will hit me in the right place. Particularly Croatia this year really worked for me. I'm sure we will talk about that later. So yeah, El Diablo was never going to be a song that was high up on my sort of personal rankings. I do think 16th is a slightly surprisingly low score for them. And while I personally don't really mind it that much, I am still very surprised.
I just think it was like, personally for me, I was expecting it maybe like between maybe 12th and maybe 14th or so, but 16th was a little bit of a shock. But you know, that's just how the coins fall, I guess, or chips fall. Can't remember what the phrase is. And English is hard.
How the head and shoulders drizzle.
You know, yeah, I do think that if she had included that little bit of promo, whoosh, would have gone way up.
Is that allowed? I'm not sure product placement's allowed.
I don't think it is. You're not allowed, but she could have worked it in somewhere. She could have just held a normal bottle without the like promo on it, and then just been like, and everyone would have just known. But alas, no. So 15th place, Serbia, Hurricane, Loco Loco. Again, a little bit of a shock, but I do think a lot of the reasoning why they came so low was because of the juries. There has been a lot of negative reaction to Ksenia, Sanya, and Ivana, and people saying some absolutely horrific things to them, horrible things. And if you've said something like that, then I think you should be ashamed of yourself, honestly, because they are three women who've just done so much. They have represented their country so well, and I'm glad that they managed to get a top 10 televote score, because that performance in the final was phenomenal. They hit all of their marks. They were vocally like, you could not get any better than almost the studio version. I do potentially think that the juries were the ones that killed this one off, but I don't think it was geared towards the juries at all. So, but yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, they might come back again and they might try something else a little bit different, but we'll see.
I feel like Serbia is the one performance where Graham really annoyed me. He made some comments about the girls, and I was like, that is so out of order. It was the one moment in the night where I was like, F off, Graham, because it was not called for at all.
I can't remember.
Yeah, the comments were a bit. I think this is probably one of the songs that massively shot up my estimations with the live performances. Again, the three members of Hurricane have been so great the entire time. Their harmonies and their sort of movements and the way they're all coordinated with each other, and the fact that all three of them have such fantastic voices alone and all together. And they really brought that song to life. I think they did a great job. I think, yeah, like you've said, it wasn't a song geared towards the juries. I do think there were definitely areas where the juries could and should give them credit, particularly with their harmonies, because that sort of stuff can be really hard. Especially when you're doing quite close harmony stuff, trying to make sure you hit your note and not somebody else's is really tricky sometimes.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're doing that, as well as all that dancing, all that movement, coordinating on stage, I'm so impressed with everything that they've done with their performance. They elevated a song which for me was quite average to a very powerful performance, and good on them. I think this is a very respectable result for them.
I think it is definitely a fantastic performance from Serbia, and they've I think what we've come to learn from Serbia, originally singing in Serbian, then going to English, and then going back to Serbian, is that just singing in Serbian works, and sometimes it can be a Balkan ballad, sometimes it can be an up-tempo banger, but regardless, they're going to just do really well with the public vote, and that's work to your strengths really, but don't be afraid to take risks, and that's what they've done this year, and I'm really thankful for that. But yes, so next one, Sweden, 14th place. This is the lowest place that Sweden has got since last time I remember, well, excluding the non-qualification in 2010, but the last final placing that was this low was 2009, Milena Ernman Lavoie. I'm not shocked at this, but I am shocked that Tusa got more votes from the public vote than he did from the juries. That is mind-blowing.
He came 18th of the juries, didn't he? It was
Something
bad.
like
It was
that,
bad.
yeah.
And he came 11th with the televote, which for Sweden is actually not
That's
that
actually
bad.
quite a decent amount, yeah, compared to 21 points.
I don't know how many John got as well. He did pretty well with the televote compared to how Sweden have been doing.
Yeah,
and
90.
With that, you have to give Tusa some credit for that. But I was surprised because I thought juries would quite like Voices. They loved it in Belfast, but it just goes to show, anything can happen in Eurovision, and Sweden are not always guaranteed a good jury result, and they're not invincible.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I didn't watch the jury show for the finals. So for those of you who did, would you say that there was anything in his performance that would have concerned you, or was it simply a case of it sort of paling compared to everything else that was in there?
Nothing really was bad about it. I think the fact that obviously Sweden were going to suffer because they were performing after Italy and before San Marino, but I think the vocals were fine. The stage show was not as sort of dramatic as it had been with the massive flares that drowned Tusa out. I think it was just a case of mediocrity, I think. But I think this year is the one. Sorry, this year I think is the start of what I think could potentially be the downfall of Sweden.
I think this will kick them up the butt. I think this is going to be the exact opposite. I think this will come in 18th to the juries. They're not going to be happy, and I think this could be a boot up the butt for Sweden. I don't think this.
It'll be fascinating to see where they go from here, because obviously now Krista Bjorkman's left the Melfest. So there's going to be a completely new person in charge of how it runs. And that could be very interesting to see what sort of changes they might make and whether that will have any sort of impact on what sort of stuff Sweden sends, what sort of approach they take, and what their results are like. I'm on the one hand, I think that there has been again this year particularly, there's been this shift away from this sort of very Swedish model of not authentic pop, sort of more manufactured pop, towards greater authenticity. And I think that Tusa was the person that gave this song any sort of authenticity. I think the song itself was a very standard Swedish pop number elevated by a fantastic performer. And so I'm absolutely gutted for Tusa, but I really hope that Sweden sort of sees that this shift has happened in Eurovision and responds to it and changes it, because we've seen in Melfest this year there have been those sorts of changes towards artists doing well that are doing more authentic stuff. Like Clara Klingenström kind of came out of nowhere, really. Yeah. And how popular she's been since then. So it'll be really interesting to see if Sweden starts to go more down that direction.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I was literally just going to say that, you know, the time for manufactured Swedish pop bops is kind of over now.
And it's definitely not like, you can look at the top 6. Look at the top 6 at this year's Eurovision. I don't see one.
The only one that was relatively there was Malta, but we're going to go to Malta fairly soonish. So, yeah. But I think now as well, you know, we'd seen it as well in Melfest this year. There were more songs in Swedish. There were more songs that were almost sort of representative of what a normal Swedish song would be like, as opposed to like trying to appeal to a mass market. Because yes, like Eurovision is a PR game, but also at the same time, if the public's not feeling you, they're going to penalize you for it. So I hope Sweden take notes from this, but they're teetering on an edge here. They can go one of two ways, and the way we'll only find out what route they're going down next year. So, anyway, we are now halfway through. I know, and we've been going for an hour already. Thank you very much if you've been sticking with us since then. And now it's time for 13th place, and I know this is going to cause problems, and this is going to cause division, because it is Natalia Gordienko, Sugar Moldova, and there's been a lot of accusations sort of potential Philip Kirkorov involvement in several of the voting countries. Now, I don't know much about this, so I'm not going to delve too much into it. But personally, on a personal level, I really liked the song. This was the one that grew on me the most during rehearsal week. So I am glad that it did get a good sort of placing. But yeah, take it away.
I'm of the opinion that you cannot blame Natalia for what has happened. It's all to do with Kirkorov and the Moldovan delegation. I personally don't think it would have changed the fact she still would have qualified. However, there's a lot of claims that it would have done. And I don't know where you go from there. I don't think personally it would have been enough. But a lot of fans out there are like, yeah, like somebody's place got taken away. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think it's that serious. But if it turns out it is, then albeit there needs to be an investigation.
Yeah, I'm hesitant.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to jump straight onto accusations of like cheating and corruption and things like that. I am very shocked that this has come so high. Could I have seen this qualifying? Yeah, I wouldn't have said it was a certain qualifier, but it didn't sort of massively shock me when it qualified. There were definitely songs that would have shocked me more. I do not feel like certainly the performance that Natalia gave was a 13th place performance, particularly compared to some of the artists that have had lower places than her. I'm thinking particularly people like Jonggu. I'm thinking people like maybe even Aiden, people whose vocal performances have just been much stronger and more consistent this entire season. And while I think Natalia gave a perfectly fine performance in the final, I still don't think it was a 13th place song. I could have, if this had come sort of mid right hand side, I would not have minded in the slightest. But I am just very surprised at how high this has come, particularly when it got a lot of 12 points from juries. Well, a lot. I mean, like 2 or 3, but that's
still quite a
more
lot.
than we expected. And I just do not understand, when you look at the performances across all 26 countries, why you would rank this first.
We've seen some stuff from the we've seen some stuff from the semis that there was a couple of juries that were just like first. I'm just like, It's a bit of a mess, but I feel like we will get onto it when we talk about semi-final 2 anyway.
Yeah. But I do think as well, just before we leave Moldova, I think, there's been a lot of other EBU investigations going on this week already. I do think potentially with the growing number of accusations, it might prompt an investigation. So I wouldn't entirely say that this story is closed. Just see what happens, really. But if it could end up easily being like a Azerbaijan Lithuania 2013 thing. So in which case then there needs to be repercussions. But again, we won't know for a while, so who knows. Right, 12th place. Again, kind of a big shock here. Portugal, the Black Mamba. Absolutely thrilled for them. I'm so glad that they were able to prove the haters wrong, because so many people had put this in the last place and before the semi-finals, and we kind of knew that it was going to pander to the juries, but I would still be incredibly proud of this, especially for the first time that Portugal has sent a song in English. I just hope that they're not going to take this and say, okay, we're singing in English now. This means that we're only singing in English. Because it's nice to have a switch up every now and again, but Portugal was known for singing in Portuguese, and I don't want to lose that, essentially.
Even though it was in English, it was still authentic to them, and I think that's what worked. This I always saw doing very well with the juries. It's the type of song that does. And this has got Portugal one of their best results in the 21st century, other than obviously Salvador. So this is a really well done to them.
Yeah, I've said before, I have my own personal issues with this song and its subject matter, but I cannot fault the performances they gave. They sounded absolutely fantastic every single time I heard them. Again, it was something that was so unique to the competition this year. And I am sort of surprised by this result, but positively surprised. Particularly from going to an act that people didn't expect to qualify to sort of the left-hand side of the scoreboard in the final. Props to them. Well done.
I could easily, there was going to be one country that was going to disrupt things, and we had originally thought that it was going to be Belgium or something, but no, I guess it was Portugal.
I think there's another country that disrupted things. Another 2 countries, really.
I know which 2 you're on about, but
yeah.
I do think Portugal should be proud of that, and Pedro and the rest of them are lovely, lovely people. Our interview with them, they said they wanted to break the mold for Portugal, and they've done exactly that. And look how well it's done for them. So I'm hoping that they have some continued success after this. So fingers crossed. 11th place, just outside the top 10, which is in the weirdest technicality. Bulgaria, Victoria, growing up is getting old. I think out of this and what came in 10th place, I would have preferred it if Bulgaria made it into the top 10 as opposed to what came in 10th. But I can see why both did really, really well. A little bit shocked by how low the televote score was, actually, to be fair. I was expecting that it was going to be a little bit higher than that. But she gave a fantastic performance. It basically caused my entire sort of gathering to shut up for a little bit. So it was a really nice professional song, and I'm really thankful for Victoria just to bring it. And I'm really hoping that she's going to have a fantastic, illustrious career after this because she deserves it.
Yeah, this surprised me that this didn't do better in the televote and just didn't resonate with, like, have that emotional hit with some viewers. This is a song over Eurovision week that's also really grown on me. I think I'd been a bit lukewarm on it before, but it's actually a really nice song. Listened to it a few times. I can only think the televote. The only way I could explain this the televote score is that going between Finland and Lithuania, who both did quite well in the televote, hurt her, and it's the only thing I can think of because her performance was stunning. Maybe the running order hurt her a bit.
Yeah, I'm shocked at this again. I mean, I've said pretty much throughout our entire commentary this sort of past couple of weeks that I just weep every time I heard Victoria sung. Wow, words. I just weep every time I hear Victoria sing this. Every time I watch that performance, I think it is just stunning. And again, her vocals have been perfect every single time. She absolutely delivers the performance. The song itself is really beautiful. It builds well. It's authentic. It's emotional. It's personal to her. I saw this as a top 10, possibly a top 5. And I'm shocked it didn't get there. I really saw this doing better. And I do think probably going between, yes, like Finland, Lithuania, Ukraine, France, all being that sort of cluster of songs, I think that is possibly what hurt it. But honestly, Europe, you're fucking heartless. You are fucking heartless.
I mean,
why do you not weep?
I mean, I didn't really cry that much, but it was still a nice moment, I think, on stage. And Victoria gave a really, really good vocal performance, you know, for what it was. But that's mostly just because that style of dramatic pop ballad with Billie Eilish vocals isn't just not something that would appeal to me. So I guess it's just my personal opinion on that. But yeah, so we'll move on into the top 10. Oh my god, I can't believe we've done that. And we are into 10th place, which was Greece, Stefania Last Dance. I think the comments that I had in my sort of gathering were that it basically the effect could have been done better, but it was still innovative for what it was. Vocally, Stefania was like, no, perfect. She looked amazing. And I think, you know, we had comments again. It's like, oh my God, I need that cat suit that she had. So, you know, she looked and sounded amazing. It was just the green screen effect did potentially hamper any more success just because it might have looked a little bit tacky. But you know what? This is the first time that Greece has managed to get into the top 10 since 2013. So I think they're just going to take it and run with it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think this is probably about where I would have expected it to be. I think, like you said, Stefania gave a great performance. Yeah. I personally wasn't a huge fan of the staging. I didn't feel like it fit the song very well. And ever since somebody mentioned that this is basically probably the staging they came up with for Supergirl and they just tried to make it fit Last Dance, I've not quite gotten that out of my mind.
Imagine. I mean, to be fair, it did exude very pink energy, to be fair, so.
Yeah, and I think it really stood out. I think she did a great job. I just think there were 9 songs better than it in the final, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong on you. I just think other songs were stronger.
Yeah, for sure. Jazzy?
Greece.
Yeah.
Greece.
All right. Sorry, I had to go grab my laptop charger because we've been on for a while and it was gonna die. So, Greece. I love this song. This is probably my most listened to song of the year. However, I just couldn't connect with the staging and never was able to again, like connect to it properly. And I'm kind of surprised this did as well as it did.
Yeah. It's odd because Greece has sent better songs, but have done worse. So I'm a little bit saddened to see it do so well when songs like Utopian Land, songs like Oniro Mu have like just tanked as a result. And yeah, I'm hoping that Greece kind of do go back a little bit to the um Greek element, I think, to it. I know when I said that in the Greece sort of in-depth video, people got very offended at that, which is quite funny because I know that again, it's going back to the Sweden thing where it's like it's a PR machine, but also at the same time you need to be authentic. And Stefania was fantastic, but I don't think that song was like just for and like Greek people. It was deliberately written to appeal to a massive audience, and I don't think they should have done that. But alas, that's just my opinion. So now, 9th place, Russian woman Manisha. I am so thankful that this managed to get a top 10. I was worried. I think, again, going into the semifinals, that this was going to be a potential non-qualifier. There was rumors of it happening, and then we saw the rehearsal, and all of that just completely went. I was a bit surprised though that it managed to make it into the top 10 though. Personally, because I didn't think that juries would connect to it that much. But again, the juries managed to do better for Manisha than the televote did. So I don't want to hear any more stuff about the juries have a bias against Russia, because that's not true. That's not true at all. I'm just so proud of Manisha and the team, and yeah, I think Russia needs to keep going down this trend of just authentic performances in Russian that just like I don't know how to describe it. I'm just really, really happy for her.
Yeah, I'm very happy for her. I said like early on, I was like, I think this could come top 10. I think the televote will absolutely love it. I was right and I was wrong, because the juries were the ones that really boosted her. And the televote kind of wasn't the best. And that just surprised me a little bit. But I'm glad the juries gave this credit, because this is so powerful. Honestly.
Yeah, what a stunning season Manisha's had.
Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, Jazzy, I think I cut you off there.
I think it was one of those, it was like, I never disliked the song, but I kind of just forgot it was there for a lot of the season. Rory's like, how could you do that? How can you just like, how can you put Russian woman and forgettable in the same sentence? It just was to me. It's like, I didn't like hate it, and I didn't love it. It was just like, oh, this isn't having any impact on me. And I think it's mainly because rap music in general is a bit like that for me. But it definitely grew. And It's now my 5th place, so I'm definitely converted now.
Yay!
So.
Yeah, Manesia's had such an incredible season, and she absolutely deserves it. I possibly might have even liked a little bit higher, but I think this was a very respectable placing for her. I think, again, it's such an authentic, unique song entry. The message that she was bringing to this contest against all of the shit that she was receiving, even from like other Russians. I'm so happy she's made it to the top 10, and just huge congrats to her. I love the song. It took a while to grow on me, and I'm really glad it didn't take a while to grow on the rest of Europe. I'm very happy that this was so well recognized.
Definitely. And I'm just really thankful that, people just really enjoyed it. And she gave a fantastic vocal performance. And she said in a press conference in the semi-final that she was going to be crazier in the final. And my God, did she deliver? She was more like all that kind of like literal throwing herself on stage. And that's commitment. Right. So next one, 8th position, Lithuania, the Roop Discotheque. I was a little bit saddened that this didn't do as well as potentially we were thinking. I was still hoping that maybe Lithuania would have gotten a top 5, but I'm not happy. I'm not sad about this at all. It's still a top 10 result for Lithuania, which is very rare. Vaidotas gave an amazing performance and still got a 12 points from Italy as well. So, it's not like they went home completely empty-handed. So, yeah, I'm just hoping that Lithuania can kind of capitalize on the popularity of Pabanda Mišnojo and format it in a way that encourages more original thinking performers really to send some really interesting songs, because as you would have heard in all of our recap news podcasts, we were really taking to the songs that were taking risks really, and I'm just hoping that they kind of carry on down that path.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to see
that. Oh.
Yeah, me and Rosie are definitely on a delay. Okay, I was going to say I was definitely expecting this to do better in the televote than what it did. I think it came about 6th in the televote, which
not bad. Regardless,
it's not bad. It's not bad. When Lithuania have been qualifying, they finished 12th, they finished 9th, they finished 8th. So they're not. It's not a bad place to be, but I feel like this can spur them on for Lithuania to get out of that bottom half of the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And it will happen eventually, but I feel Lithuania just need to keep doing what they're doing because they are getting good results. 12th, 9th, 8th, they're getting better as well. So, and I mean, we'd be happy. I think the UK would be very happy with Lithuania's results in the last 5 years.
Well, Lithuania got the UK's 12 televoting points, so...
Who would have predicted that?
Absolutely nobody. I'm joking.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of bittersweet about this, in that this is basically pretty much where I've had the Roop in my personal ranking all season. I cannot fault a single performance they gave. I'm so glad they've ended top 10. I really would have liked to have seen them get Lithuania's best result ever, and that would have been a top 5. And I am kind of sad that they didn't do it. Again, I think it's just the strength of this year. That's all I think the problem is, because I certainly think this is probably one of the strongest entries they've ever sent. And it's also kind of difficult to compare them as well, because the voting system compared to when We Are the Winners finished 6th versus now is so wildly different. Like, we didn't even have juries back then.
Like,
So
I feel like,
it's
it's so much harder now to finish top 10 than it was in 2006. So
Yeah.
and
they
I
can be
think
very
Lithuania,
happy with this.
yeah, they should be so proud of this. And I really hope all of that love and support they had for the group continues, because just it's been so wholesome and heartwarming to see all season. They've absolutely deserved it. They've sent a fantastic entry, and I'm very, very glad they did this well. I also just kind of would like to have seen them do a little bit higher.
If only. But you know what? It's still one of Lithuania's best ever placings, so it's definitely not something to be scoffed at by all means.
Yeah.
Yes, so 7th place, Malta, Je me casse, Destiny. Again, I mean, I had imagined that this was easily going to do a top 10. Top 5 was a possibility, but I didn't see this winning. And if it was going to win, I'd been very shocked. But I think this just kind of goes to show that Malta needs to start to learn to produce songs from home. Because this has been a problem that has been surfacing for Malta kind of maybe even since Gianluca in 2013. Because Malta's televote score is regularly very low. We saw that with Irolosco in 2016. We saw it with Claudia Faniello when she got 0 televote points in 2017. Christabel as well. Malta, even again in Michaela in Chameleon in 2019. You know, they're not appealing to the people at home. They're deliberately appealing to the juries. And yes, Destiny is like a fantastic performer, but I do believe that All of My Love would have done a better than Je me casse would. Um, I still think though, you know, for an 18-year-old, she absolutely nailed it on stage. No question, no question at all. I do think though there's questions that need to be raised within the Maltese delegation about trying to grow like something from and it sounds like I'm being like one of these picky people that's like, oh my god, you're outsourcing your music, like that's automatically bad. But look at the top 6, like how we said, all written mostly by the artists themselves, and Destiny had little to no input. So that just goes to show that Malta themselves, if they really want this, they kind of need to just throw themselves into it head and soul.
Like, I feel like, again, we're alluding to that top 6 instead of top 5 because it's quite elusive that they all wrote their own songs. It did feel a little bit like manufactured Swedish pop. I think it was actually Bulgarian pop. Boris, can't remember his name, but yeah. And I think they've outsourced their songs from Bulgaria for the last few years, which is fine because I think when they were outsourcing songs from Bulgaria were doing very, very well, and they're kind of not now. So I guess again, Bulgaria and Malta kind of maybe need to go a little bit back to the drawing board, and because there is no rule book for Eurovision. Like, what works one year is likely not going to work the next, but what will always work is authenticity, especially in the last 5 years. I feel like most of the artists that have won the contest had a lot of input towards their song.
At least since 2016.
16.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm still genuinely quite shocked at this. I did not. I firmly expected this to come in the top 5. I think it was a genuine contender for the winner. I think it has been all season, and I am shocked it has come this low. I completely agree with everything that you've been saying about it possibly feeling possibly a little manufactured, but I do feel like Destiny sold it. She really sold it every time she performed. And I don't think the message itself was inauthentic to her.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't think it's purely her putting on an act. I think this is something she genuinely believes in and genuinely cares about and actively wants to portray. And she did it beautifully. Again, her vocals have been out of this world this whole season. And it's a really tough one.
Like, to me as well, she had one of the best stage presences of the night. Like,
oh yeah,
that performance was phenomenal. Like, she was good in the semi-final, she was good in the rehearsals, but on the night of the final, she smashed it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And when you look at the semi-finals as well, like Destiny won the semi-final by quite a large margin as well. So, but again, the number of people who watch the semi-finals is a lot lower than people who usually watch the finals. So potentially they might have felt a little bit disenfranchised by that. But regardless,
and the demographics as well, the sort of voters you're going to get across different semis. Yeah.
It could go. It could have been a number of reasons, but I do think potentially it was just something that they needed to just work on in future. And if they got Destiny back with a song that she had written, I think that would be the winning formula, because Destiny herself had no problems and she could easily have won it on her own based on that vocal alone. I think it's just a case of that there's just something not clicking, and I think there's something that needs to be fixed within that Maltese delegation, and I don't know what, but
also scream underrated Maltese entry Coming Home by Firelight.
No, I say no.
It's Maltese through and through.
Okay.
If I still had that thing on my hand, that would have been such a good like lean to the next what we're going to talk about next.
Well, exactly. You know, 6th position, Blind Channel, Dark Side, Finland. I think Jazzy needs to kick us off with this, because Finland is
oh my god. Let's just say I didn't see this coming. I did not see this coming. I think when we did our predictions for In Depth, I said 24th. When we did our predictions on final night, I said 10th. And then it came 4th in the tally vote and came 6th overall. Like, I'm happy. Like, this and a country we will talk about pretty soon were the shocks of the night for me. Okay, maybe not so much shocks of the night, but shocks of the week. Like, I think on the night we kind of saw Blind Channel and Go Away coming. We knew, like, we saw it coming on the night of the final, but I think before rehearsals, people were talking about these songs as non-qualifiers, potentially. So, what Go Away and Blind Channel did was cause some massive, massive upsets, but I'm so happy they did. And I think we'll just get into it more when we talk about Ukraine.
Yeah, this is another huge shock to me. Not an unpleasant one. I just did not see this coming. I've been saying all throughout the season that I was worried that 2 sort of rock type genre songs in the final could split the votes, and look how incredibly well both of them did.
Yeah,
I am delighted for Blind Channel, and I didn't see this coming, and it was a very positive shock for me. It wasn't in my top 10. I think it was towards my sort of 20th place in my personal ranking, but just what a performance they gave on the night. And like, I can't be too upset with this. I think
Can I just say?
did.
Oh,
yes, of course you can.
I was just going to say the one thing I am upset about is that when the Icelandic jury gave their jury points, I'm so sad they just didn't just put the camera on them just for like a minute, like not a second. I mean, because obviously they've been all throughout Eurovision week. They have been holding up signs saying "Play Ya Ya Ding Dong."
Play Ya Ya Ding Dong. Play Ya Ya Ding Dong. I love that though. Do you know what? They're so self-aware, but I love it. I love it. Yes. It was great.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, it was not my favorite. It will never be my favorite. But I think, that performance was by far and away one of the most intriguing and engaging stagings I think we've had in a long time from Finland. And it's been something that they've been struggling with before. When they try to send pop songs, like we've seen it with Krista Siegfrieds, we've seen it with Sarah Alto, like they qualify, but they only barely manage to qualify, and even then they come in bottom 5. So when they send something that they know that people will do well with, I think it's just going to be a really interesting one. And I'm just really, really happy for Blind Channel and in general Finland, because Hard Rock Hallelujah, Soft Engine, Something Better, and now Blind Channel, all these sort of rock songs, it works well for them, and they know that it works well. But they're still happy to take a risk, and I'm really hoping that it will foster more interesting songs and staging in UMK, because UMK 2021 was fantastic, and given how they're now going to be riding on a high, I totally see it. I can totally see this starting off something completely great for them. So 2000, where am I going with this? No, 5th position, Ukraine, Goe Shum. As someone who had it as a number 3 and going into rehearsals, I can now proudly say that this is my number 1 now after rehearsals. And this just sold so much. I'm so happy for Katarina. I'm so happy for Goe as a band. I think it was phenomenal, the staging, and I just can't believe that people had originally thought this was a borderline non-qualifier. And when we think back of it now, it's could it have been anything else? I don't think. But I'm so happy for Shum. And Shum now, as I had just seen on Twitter just before we went live, it is the first Ukrainian language song to enter the global 100 on Spotify, and it's currently at 69th position. And
nice.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just really, really proud of Ukraine, and you know what? They deserve to be the only country now to have a 100% qualification streak. If they're sending quality like that, let them be the only ones. So, yeah, love it.
Montaigne shouldn't have been the one to lose Australia's, though.
Definitely,
no.
Yeah. Jessica Malboy, that you?
Is I a favourite?
More what I was thinking.
Yeah. I always really liked this song, and when people were saying, "Oh, it's a non-qualifier," I was like, "Nah, there's no way this isn't qualifying." Europe will just take to this because it's so different, it's so authentic, and we kind of knew they'd bring it with stage, and they did back in Vidbeer in 2020 with Solveig. So we knew that this team know how to stage as well. And they just killed it. Shum, again, I think throughout this week has been probably one of my most listened to songs. I just so happy for them. There's nothing else you can really say. So deserved. Katarina went through the mill a bit as well, so I think it's absolutely deserved. Like, because obviously she had a COVID scare at the start of rehearsals. Thankfully, she was able to perform because, unlike Iceland, they wouldn't have had a backup tape from rehearsals because this happened in the second rehearsal. So, so glad that things just really worked out for them.
Yeah, I mean, I was one of those people who has been saying that this. I was worried about its qualification chances because Semi 1 was just so strong, and I just worried that it would be too inaccessible to people. And I am so delighted to have been proven wrong. This was probably my sort of joint number one going into the final, not least because my actual number one got eliminated in the semis. RIP. So this was one of the songs that I was behind the most, and I hate to say it, I honestly didn't see it doing this well. But I'm just so happy it did. I'm so proud that people took to this song. And I think it's something I said on a podcast episode. When people all across Europe on a Saturday night tune in to watch the Eurovision Grand Final, they've not watched the semis, they've not heard any of the songs, they're just sort of vaguely aware of the contest and they tune in for that one night a year. This is the music I want them to hear. And I'm so glad they heard it. I'm so glad they enjoyed it. And I'm so glad they voted for it because it's just not what I would have expected them to do. And sometimes Europe actually does do something right.
Yay! Yeah, and not to mention as well, Ukraine coming second in the public vote. I think that is
yes.
So happy. I just love them so much. It's also been
now. Please release Rano and Zerkovka.
Oh, have they done that yet?
No,
I don't think they've done it yet, but I want them both, please.
I need Zerkovka because Zerkovka was the one that I really wanted to listen to because that sounded so interesting. Oh, anyway, 4th position, Iceland. I was a bit surprised that this was going to do that well, but you know what? It's okay. I'm happy that they did well. All I'm saying is that we saw the same performance as we did in the second semi-final as we did in the second rehearsal, so there's not really much to kind of comment on. But all I'm really wishing is just that Daddy, Arnie, and Johan all stay healthy, stay safe after they all tested positive for COVID, and yeah, I'm just really hoping that they do really well and just recover very soon.
Yeah, I think it's just wishing all the band all the best because it's such a sad situation that they weren't able to have their moment live with the audience, but obviously wishing them well at the same time and it's just a speedy and non-complicated recovery. I'm not going to go on too much about the song. I've made my feelings perfectly clear on Dathi. All I will say is that I am happy for Iceland to get a second consecutive top 10 result because they came top 10 in 2019, they've came top 10 again. And that is after a 5-year non-qualification streak. So, again, Iceland's one of those countries where things are looking up and they just need to either build on it or maintain it. And because people were like,
who knows?
I mean, building on it, they have to come top 3 or win the contest. So.
Well, that's also true, yeah.
I wouldn't say that that's an impossible task for them, to be quite honest.
They are hungry for it. And I feel like in the last 3 years, you can kind of really tell. And honestly, glad for them.
Yeah. And honestly, huge props to Iceland again for taking risks in those years as well. Like, they are very much not conventional Eurovision songs. Hatred Monsegra, Think About Things, 10 Years. Very genuine, authentic songs to the artists that they have been sending, and it is paying the hell off for them. And 10 Years, like, yeah, okay, it's got a special place in my heart. I'm in the choir, makes me happy. I think it is just genuinely lovely, and honestly, I feel like in a way I sort of see myself in the band, because I feel like it's just a sort of it's a group of friends who are massive nerds and just love making this sort of music together, and I love that, and I'm so happy that they did so well. I think honestly, I think the way it was possibly best summed up was when we interviewed John.
Okay. Oh.
And he said that it was such a sort of one guy and his friends and his family. And if it's one guy and his friends and his family and they've come 4th place on a global stage, massive congratulations to them. Well done. Because so many of these countries are pumping and pumping and pumping money and sort of global music producers and everything behind their acts. And Iceland have just done it on such a small scale, and yet they've brought it to the masses. And again, huge congratulations to them. I think this is a very well-deserved 4th place.
Like, I'm just going to put it in perspective, and this is no hate on Senate at all. Senate got Flo Rida, one of the biggest like rap artists of like the late noughties, early 10s, came 22nd. Dathi came with his wife and his friends and came 4th.
Yeah,
and that's no shade or hate to Zenit. It's just like pointing something out.
Yeah. And I think again we've had this discussion about Malta already, but you can see it in the rest of the top 10. Except again also maybe Greece, but other than that, yeah, the top 10 is full of songs that they have the artists at the core of everything they do.
Which is true, you know. I think given how just Iceland just has a great time with the contest, and I'm just really thankful that, you know, they're just doing things that they want to do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Top 3 time. Hooray! We might as well just race through these because you know what? Why not? Switzerland, John's Tears, Tout l'univers. I'm really happy for him. I know he said he wanted to get into the top 5, and that's exactly what he did. It's been lovely, and I'm really thankful to you know, the whole all of Europe really, just for voting for them and giving them their best results since Celine Dion, really. So yeah, and John himself is just an absolute doll as well, and I'm really hoping that, you know, he's gotten a lot of like exposure now, and I'm really hoping that he's going to capitalize on that, because that was again part of the reason why he wanted to take part. So yeah, I'm just really, really happy. And, you know, it went down a storm with the rest of like my gathering. So I'm really, really happy. So yeah.
Obviously, I think one thing that we haven't actually brought up is he won the jury vote.
That's true.
And that is amazing, because in the last few years, Switzerland they hadn't been qualifying, but they had not been doing well with the juries at all. There was a lot of like incidences where televoters did have them as qualifiers, but the jury were just like, nope, not having it.
Right.
So to improve to go from that to winning the jury is a massive achievement for them. And also, I think it needs to be pointed out, this is their second top 5 in a row. They came top 5 in 2019. And again, this is another example of countries turning their fortunes around, and I would not be surprised to see them win soon. They are another country who clearly want to win, and they're doing all the right things for that to happen. I just think it could be a matter of when.
But also, thank you for giving us a few years to save up for it.
Well, that's also true as well, because I don't think, we'll all be needing to be €2 million richer by the time that it actually happens. So,
I was like thinking, oh dear. When the jury results came in, I thought, oh dear, I'm about to need to sell a leg.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a stunning performance he gave. And there was a lot of doubt about how well he'd do, particularly after that second rehearsal clip came out. And I think this is so well deserved. It's a song I've loved pretty much since it came out. I think there's something very special about him and his voice. And yeah, I'm happy the rest of Europe saw that. I did have something else to say, and I'm trying to think of what it was now. I can't remember if it was funny or insightful, but there was something there. And yeah, can't remember what it was now. But just huge congratulations to John. I'm very happy with Switzerland as a third placer. I wouldn't have been upset to see it take the win, but honestly, over the next sort of the last few minutes of this stream, you're just going to get me being so insanely positive about like every act, because this top 5, wow, so much quality.
I'm just really happy for Switzerland as well, because it's been a long time coming. They've been sending songs that have been really good for a long time, and it's time that they actually get recognized. So second place, Barbara Pravi, Voila, France. So thrilled for them. This is the first time I think they've gotten in like second position in at least like 20 years or something.
Yeah,
like that.
91 it must have been.
True, yeah. Actually, yeah. Yeah, because
So that's 30 years.
30 years even. But yeah, I'm still like just really happy for them. I'm just a bit sad that it wasn't Voila that won, because I think it was just, imagine what would have happened if France had won. But we'll get on to our thoughts later for who actually won. But it was still a phenomenal performance. I'm just really thankful that they, just had a chance to show off what worked for them, and France had tried so many different times going down the traditional French route, but it works, and I'm just really thankful that Barbara was just given a chance to do it. Imagine if she won it. Imagine she would have technically done the double, but I don't know if you necessarily count that. So it's like,
I think I wasn't the biggest fan of Voila going into this. However, I think that performance and the camera trickery that they use when they're going around her was so impactful. And her voice at the end is amazing. I had this tip, like, even though it wasn't my favorite song, I did have this tip to win pretty much all season. So, not surprised it came top 3. And I think I'm just finally glad that France got the result they deserve, because I feel like there's been like several years now where they've been picked to like win, come top 3, and now they've finally done it. And I feel like for that, I'm really happy for France.
When we went into the voting for this, I genuinely thought this was France's to lose. And yes, we will get on to the winner, but I just was so stunned by Barbara's performance. it was the sort of performance that made you shut the fuck up and listen and watch her and hear what she had to say. And it was breathtaking. I remember sort of, again, I hate having to sort of reuse my phrases, but it is the best way I have to describe this song. It is like Barbara reaches out of the screen and grabs you by the shoulders and shakes you and says, "You need to listen to what I have to say." And just wow. Just wow. The whole thing was very special. And again, I'm delighted for her. I think I wouldn't have been upset if this won, but I think second place is so worthy. I think this is a credit to France and the French music industry. And I know Barbara said that she wanted to be a sort of ambassador for Eurovision in France because it doesn't have a great reputation. It's not especially popular. And I think if anyone can do it, she can, with that performance. And just, again, what an incredible person she's been this entire season.
I think it's amazing. And, you know, like France itself has just been battling with trying to do really well recently. And like after the J'ai Cherché effect, it was starting to wear off a little bit and they were starting to trail back to doing like 15th, 16th, and then now look at it again, second place. I'm just really over the moon for them and they really deserve it. So I'm hoping that they kind of keep going with it for next year. And now the time has arrived. It's time to talk about our winner, Måneskin, Zitti Buoni, Italia, Vincere. Yeah, I mean, this wasn't my favorite, but I'm just really happy because it was 31 years since the last time Italy won, and I'm just really thankful for them for just bringing their authenticity as a group and as in terms of a genre, all that kind of stuff. I'm just really, really happy for them. And hey, Italy, cheap, can go next year. Why not? Hello. And yeah, I think, you know, they gave a fantastic performance. So glad that the whole drugs thing has finally been like completely addressed and like they didn't take drugs so they can finally like we can leave that bit in the past. Yeah, I'm just really, really happy for them.
Yeah, I think I am really glad that Italy finally, after so many years, like trying, like they've came top 5, like I'm trying to think, 1, 2, 3 times since they've returned, and then they've came top 10 most of the other times. But they hadn't managed to get that win, and now that they've done it, I'm just so happy for them. This is an amazing song. This is so different to anything Italy have sent to the contest before. And they won with it. And yeah, I was listening to this yesterday and just thinking, this is such a good winner. It's very different to winners that we've had in recent years as well. So honestly, I feel like we could get a return of rock music to the Eurovision Song Contest because we've seen like this year that 2 rock songs did very, very well. So I think we'll see a lot more quirkiness next year with like so many like songs that could be considered quite quirky doing quite well, like Italy, Iceland, Ukraine, Finland, even Lithuania, even Russia. Like it really shows that this authenticity and being yourself and being a bit out there, it will work for you, and it just shows how accepting of like different genres, different people that the Eurovision community is, and I'm so happy for them. And I feel like they've started something.
If anybody follows me on Twitter, like I said at the very, very beginning of this stream, for Eurovision night, I sort of shut off the internet and sort of didn't watch along with anyone aside from the people I was physically present with. Wasn't posting at all, and my sort of one tweet of the night is just a picture of me grinning my head off and weeping when this result was announced, because I thought this was a pipe dream. I genuinely thought that, like, imagining this song winning, I could top 5. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. Winning, I did not expect it, and I am delighted. I am so happy. I I mean, we did a whole episode on Italy in the podcast. Italy is probably my favorite country in Eurovision. It has been my winner sort of 3 or 4 times in the last 10 years since the contest return. And I'm very, very happy that they finally won, and that they've won with a song that is such high quality, that is powerful, that is meaningful, that is authentic, that has something to say, and that says it so well, with performers that are so open and free and charismatic and incredibly talented. Let's not forget that. There are so many things I love about this, and I think probably my favorite thing about it is that they are such a band. And when I say that, what I mean is that every single person gets their moment in the spotlight in that song. Like, obviously, Damiano is an incredible vocalist, and that second verse he does, where it's so fast, he's kind of on the verge of rapping, and he's getting all of those words in. That's incredible listening to him do that. But also there's the bass solo that Victoria has, and the drum solo, and the sort of main guitar solo, and every single member gets their moment to shine, because all of them are incredible. And I think that togetherness, and the fact that it's not just a lead singer and some instrumentalist, it is a group of people who clearly love making music together and sharing it with the world. And yes, they're doing it on a huge stage with a big budget and pyro and everything, but there's a picture that has been circulating around the internet over the last few days, which is a picture of Måneskin busking in Rome, which is sort of where they started out, playing together in front of a public audience. And there's something so powerful about that versus the image of them winning the world's biggest music competition sort of 5-6 years later. And it's just fantastic. I think they are fantastic ambassadors for the contest. I think they are fantastic ambassadors about what Eurovision can be. It can be diverse. It can be out of the ordinary. It can be outside of the box. And I mean, I could go on about this for ages, but I am utterly delighted by this. I think it's such a worthy winner. It's a shock winner, and I'm not unhappy about it in the slightest, and I am just praying they don't choose Milan as a host city next year, because I have bad memories of that place.
Not after Milan, not again.
Please do not make me go back to Milan. I have trauma associated with that city.
Well, given the number of like cities already like putting their name forwards already to host next year, I doubt that'll probably be the case. They're probably going to be like held in like Bari or like Palermo or Sardinia somewhere. I don't know, but like, who knows?
The thing is, when you say Barry, my mind went to Barry Island.
Yeah,
and I'm thinking like Gavin and Stacey.
Hey, if they can't host it and they would need to host it in Barry Island, I'm pretty sure that the Welsh will be happy about that.
Yeah, Barry Island 2023.
Literally. Amazing.
Also, hey, Amadeus, Fiorello, you free next May?
I think so. I think they definitely will be. If not, if they're not one of the first names already like on Rise list, then I think what's the point?
Yeah.
Oh God. Yes, so okay, we've gone on for 2 hours. I'd imagine that's probably enough.
We
So we
need
might as well
sleep.
just we might as well
Yeah.
just wrap it up here because we're going to talk about the semifinals, but we just have not got enough time. But honestly, thank you so much for just like following us on our journeys and like the first time that we've ever done like press or anything like that. It's been an absolute like whirlwind. Um I'm kind of like I don't know what to do with myself now at this point. I'm kind of just like, oh my god, what am I doing? And then I realize, oh shit, I have uni, so I need to actually keep doing that. But yeah, I mean, do you guys just want to say something quickly before we wrap up?
Thank you for an amazing season, and I cannot wait for next season. And we will still be here. We will like be doing podcast episodes. We will probably eventually talk about the semi-finals. So
It's in time.
in time.
Yeah, just being able to follow this Eurovision season from a personal note and from a press note, it has been an absolute joy and an absolute honour to be able to do this. And thank you, every single one of you who has tuned into what we've had to say, who's followed us on social media, who's commented and interacted with us. It's been such an incredible experience, and I'm sad it's over, but there's always next year.
That's
And
true.
thank you, just a huge thank you.
Just thank you so much. I mean, I'm trying not to get emotional, but like, it's just nice, like, because it just means a lot. Yeah. We will be around though. Obviously, podcasts will not go away. We will be there, but we will probably take a little bit of a break. We probably won't do much for maybe like a month or so. But we will be back. We'll probably have the odd like maybe article up every now and again, but we will see. So yeah, in the meantime, please follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at That Eurosite. Please follow us as well on our site as well, that EurovisionSite.com. And also just as well, just like we're on podcast land as well. So like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all of that stuff. So yeah, it's weird to say goodbye to Eurovision 2021, but I guess we kind of have to do it. So yeah,
Bye.
who knows? Anyway, we'll see you soon.
Bye.